Hello and welcome to round 2 with Bant Eldrazi. I think this is a pretty clear keep. We're going to stirring to try and find either another temple or some cheaper Eldrazi. The only question in my mind is if we take a pain to do it on one, because that opens up the possibility of, let's see, I guess there's take 2 pain and just not. I think we learned our lesson last time. I'm going to take 2 pain and stirrings. And the reason for that, wanting to take pain, is that I can find a displacer now and have a 2-drop effectively. I think that multiple smasher. I guess I have the mana to drowner the turn after, so the mix and match is better. Multiple smashers is pretty good though. I think I. His opponent's played Flooded Strand, so it's hard to tell. I guess drowner's not the greatest. I'm just gonna take smasher. I'm trying to think of what Flooded Strand decks I don't just need to kill right away, and this is still a 2-for-1 there. Yeah, playing against some blue-white nonsense. Oh, Geist is saying draft strategy. So, Ancient Stirrings before playing a land, then we get to make a decision. Whatever. Didn't need that. And then we play Eldrazi Temple here, because if we hit our 3-outer to a second temple, then the game basically ends. Oh, we're playing in Zur. Okay. We're doing this just so we can leave up Path to Exile. That 2 damage is kind of inconvenient that we took, because Geist does increments of 6, though I guess this block, we'll see what happens here. I think it's not unreasonable to path our opponent's Geist here, or Geist token, so that we can smash hard. Does that win the race? So we path, we go to 16. $16, 14, 10. Yeah, okay, this is right. Just want to do this here while my opponent's down on counter mana, because we're holding them off of counter spells with Cavern. Decent. This gets pathed. We're in a bit of a bind. I think we're just supposed to jam. Then this gets bust here, so that if we draw another chump blocker that costs 2, we can be out of lethal range. And the 3 drops. So the only 3-drop that matters is this is probably Detention Sphere, so that's going to take out that, sure. Okay, so because that happened, we want to go to 10. I think I want the mana. Yeah, sure. I don't think buzzing that's correct anymore. Also, the damage matters. Second Smasher is definitely better than Drowner in this matchup. Ugh. That's no good for us. Well, we've played 2 threats, and they both 3 threats, and they all died. And then we died to Geist Saint Draft. So here we block so that we can get above 4 life, so that if we have a blocker, we can actually not die. This is probably Zur the nonsense. Yep. Don't believe that's enough to save me. Because this gets Steel the Godhead and puts it here. But guess I may as well play it out in case my opponent gets the wrong card. I'm not actually dead this turn, but the problem is that this setup, like an unblockable Geist, is just impossible to beat. Okay, well, we still have a chance. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. We are not dead yet. If we draw Eldrazi Displacer next turn, we get to go 1, 2, 3, cast Displacer, and then displace the Zur beginning of combat and the Angel in combat. We survive. That doesn't work because the Angel still kills us. So I want these, and I want this. I don't think Dismember does anything to any card in my opponent's deck besides Zur. Not huge on denial here. Reshaper's not the greatest. Tarmogoyf's okay. I don't know how many E's I want because it's 5 mana kill Geist. I guess it also pops Detention Sphere. I guess Denial's better. Shave a Drowner to go down on the high end. Let's cut a Sky Spawner because that's just pure nonsense. I think that's it. I don't want Cage. I don't want Spellskite. My opponent's paths to victory are removal plus creatures, basically. Tarmogoyf gets in the way. I don't think Dismember is better than Path. Because Path saves me life on a Angel attack. It's worth noting that Zur is oddly bad. It feels like Geist of St. Draft is kind of a problem, which makes Zur like an oddly bad matchup for a cross-section of the metagame that you're trying to beat, which is mid-range. It's just like really hard to pull up against the Geist decks and be defensive. Yeah, I guess this is a keeper. We're not stirrings because we can't stirrings into Displacer on 2. Eldrazi, yeah. And then we're just trying to get the biggest threat we can. And honestly, given my hand, I don't think I can afford to run this Ancient Stirrings into a mana leak. So I'm just going to play that and pass. My goal here is going to be to Stirrings next turn. Gives me a little bit more flex. Geist, sure. This game, however, I am the beatdown, and you are not the beatdown. Oh boy, I'm going to take that one. I'm going to play Township so that if I draw a white source, I can activate it next turn. Oh, is that good? Is that enough? Did I just Eldrazi all over you? And do I want to Tarmogoyf or no? I think on the draw, I don't want to try to trade for removal. I just want to have creatures. So I need things to block Geist, and that's another thing that in theory does it. I don't know how I feel about trimming this Drowner here. Certainly a debatable option. I think you just need the low curve. If you can just like not die to their Geist draws, all of your threats should be pretty interchangeable. You have to like not die to Geist and kill Zur. And I have cards that kill Zur, and I have cards that don't die to Geist. Well, this looks perfectly fine to me. So in this game, well, I didn't get turn 1 discarded in any of these games, which is great. I'm going to deliberately try to not go to 18 life just because of the Geist count that we were talking about last game. 3 6s is dead to Geist, whereas at 19 you live at 1 life. And all I'm going to try to do today is play a Thought-Knot Seer on turn 2 and hope it is good enough to win the game. That's not the one you need. So if my opponent has... Interesting. A lot of this depends on... Well, okay, so my opponent's hand does not have multiple Zers. That's good to know. They might have a path, and they're going to path this in response. But there's nothing I can do about that besides just see it happen. Get a Plains. I've got a path for the Geist. Or a path for the Zero, so I would like to take the Geist. Leave my opponent with Caesar Shores Swamp. Caesar Shores Swamp. And this game is looking like Noble Hierarch Beatdown is going to be part of my game plan. Especially because my opponent's Spreading Seas is going to lock me off of colorless mana, which leaves me with a decent number of dead draws. at least until I get another colorless source. That's more than decent. So I kind of want to get in for 2 damage and cast that. So I'm just going to do this. Jam. The sequencing on that doesn't matter because my opponent doesn't have any counter spells they're representing for a blue. If they had, in theory, they could have Spell Pierce I could play around if it was not a creature. Is this Damnation off the top? Is there... Okay, you can just get right on out of the battlefield. Not even going to wait. Just losing a counterfight for that is just not allowable. And now I'm the person with the 6 power attacker. Did I just, like, forget to play land that turn? That my opponent knew about? Happens. Okay, you can get right on out of here, too. Just please leave the battlefield. Sweet. Township doing some work. Sadly, this is not lethal. Well, okay, so also not lethal through that. But I was going to say, if the removal spell hit next turn, that was not lethal through it. Because the next turn's attack is only for 4 damage with the... No! I liked those Noble Hierarchs. They were doing good work. Cute that my opponent's Spreading Seas is currently fixing my mana. That's a problem. Just draw a creature. Okay, not a terrible creature to draw. Oh, I should leave up my blue source because, again, that is fixing my mana. I think I'm supposed to play that. I'll block. Don't think I won't. I guess maybe I was supposed to not fetch there because the 1 damage could, in theory, matter. Well, before I do anything, let's see if my opponent drew a counterspell for this. Oh, they didn't. I'll attack. Well then. Here's to hoping they don't have some kind of weird thing. I don't know. That deck doesn't... Maybe has 1 damnation. But if they have it, I mean, I've made all the plays I could. If they attack, I'm blocking. Yep. Sure. You got some soldiers. And I'm fine trading any of those off. Oh, I have a township. Oh my gosh, what is going to happen this turn? I can't township and play Displacer. I can play Displacer and Flicker. I can attack with the Drowner. That might be the best play, actually. Or I can Flicker Thought Knot in their draw step. Okay, so definitely correct. Cast Eldrazi Displacer. Oh, I can Flicker both because I've got the tokens. So I attack with Drowner. My opponent has no good blocks. If they block with everything, they can chump block, actually. Okay, so they take that. They've used 2 pass. I think I'm supposed to do this here. Because the cards I'm afraid of them drawing are all sorcery speed. That might not be right. What did we draw today? What is this a dismember? Killing the seer? Okay. I like my creature, so I'm just going to save it. And I want my discard to resolve after the draw. And they drew a land. They have no good attacks again. The best draw would be a colorless land. It's close. I'll try to hit something. Another temple would be pretty nice. Sky Spawner's fine. Do I want a Sky Spawner or do I just want a second Displacer? Usually Sky Spawner's pretty good. I don't think the second Displacer does anything because most of the removal spells left are spheres. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that attacks. That attacks. They can bust everything under the seer. I just kill all of it? Sure. This attacks, they throw 4 things there, 1 thing there, and the Displacer dies, so that's bad. So those are attacks. I guess this might have wanted to attack last turn. No, my opponent being at less life, I think, changes the dynamic a little bit. Let's get in my good flicker for 2 tokens right now. So that I don't randomly get like path out of 2 tokens. And I'm just gonna pass. I get to leave up a flicker this way. I mean, I get to leave up a flicker both ways, but I get to always leave up a flicker this way. Interesting. Now that they're committed to this line, pretty sure this is right. Maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm just... Nah, because they can't fetch a white source here. Just making more scions. Yeah, you can have back Lingering Souls. Please take it. I don't want it in your graveyard. Anywhere but there. Well, this looks like another opponent getting spaghetti stomped. Not bad. Definitely a bit more of a struggle. Geist and Zur are a little harder to tangle with than some of the generic threats that the other mid-range decks have. You know, this whole not dying so fast to like a Tarmogoyf that's a 4-power creature. Pretty big difference. Also, I guess my opponent cleared the way, but like yeah, it's somewhat different, but just generally, guys, is more obnoxious because it can't be pathed.